Donald Trump's proposal to ban all Muslims from entering the U.S., stoking unprecedented bipartisan outrage in the 2016 race. Of course, American Muslims are watching this issue very closely and greeting Trump's comments with plenty of concern and pushback. So let's bring them in. Haroon Moghal is a fellow at the Institute for Social Policy and Understanding and a senior correspondent at religiondispatches.org. And Sadyia Khalique is the director of operations at the Council on American Islamic Relations in New York. Great to have both of you with us on this important morning. Sadyia, what did you think when you heard Trump put out his statement saying he is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the U.S. until our country's representatives can figure out what's going on, end quote?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. It's unconstitutional, it's un-American, and it's not what you would expect the president to say, a future president to say, because he's attacking the Bill of Rights, which upholds the freedom of religion. And it's also dangerous.
How?
Dangerous because, you see, we forget the correlation between statements like this, anti-Muslim statements, and which lead to an increase in hate crimes. So you're seeing Muslims being attacked as a result of these, where young people or average Americans are coming out and utilizing, oh, I support Trump, or I support the fact that Muslims need to be deported, and they'll come and attack Muslims.
Have you seen that more?
Yes, we have. Since Paris, we've seen attacks on young Muslim women. Just recently, this weekend, we saw a young man being attacked, and also a store owner being attacked, assaulted, and called by the attacker, "I'll kill Muslims."
Haroon, what is it like to be a Muslim in America today?
It's under siege. I think that's the feeling, is that terrorists are attacking us as Americans, all of us. One of the victims in the San Bernardino shooting was a Muslim. And at the same time, after the attacks happened, then we face backlash because it's assumed that we're somehow complicit in it. And Donald Trump's rhetoric goes in that direction when he says things like you should kill the families of terrorists or ban all Muslims from entering the country. It's in effect saying that all of you are responsible for this. And at the same time, as if that's not bad enough, groups like ISIS are at war with the world's Muslims because we reject their ideology, we refuse their caliphate.
You know, Trump is using words that are confusing and sometimes scary to Americans who are not Muslim. He's saying jihad. He's saying Sharia. He uses them almost as synonymous with extremism. So what don't Americans understand about when they hear Sharia and jihad? What should Americans know about how American Muslims practice these things?
I think it's important to know that American Muslims are your average Americans. To identify them or discriminate them by words such as terrorism or jihad, or even call us the other, is, if anything, a way to scapegoat us. So we have to remember that Americans are your average, firefighters, we're your police officers, we're your teachers, we're in your schools, in your colleges, and we're, just like any American, standing up against any type of terrorist attacks.
Donald Trump's supporters tend to agree with him when he says provocative things. His poll numbers tend to go up. Here's just a sampling of how people, his supporters, responded after he made these comments yesterday. Listen to this.
That's a very prudent idea, and I think that he's done due diligence when he makes that statement. We have to protect our American citizens first, and the vetting process and the whole program lacks integrity.
He's just saying no Muslim should be allowed to enter the country right now. You agree? Yes or no? It's that simple.
Yes.
Haroon, how do you break through his messaging to get to average people and say just what Sadyia just said?
I think the way to break through is by appealing to people who don't listen to him and look at how security basically becomes a cover for an idea, something like racial purity, right? So when it came to Mexicans, which was only a few months ago, he said they're rapists, they're murderers. Some of them he coyly suggested might be good people, then he proposes a wall. Then he talks about deporting huge numbers of Americans and their families. A Black Lives Matter protester shows up at one of his rallies. He's beaten up. Trump suggests that maybe he deserved it. On all these different issues, Muslims are just the latest in this wave where he's going everywhere from anti-Semitic to anti-Black to anti-Latino, where he uses security to justify policies that basically mean what he wants to do is privilege one kind of American, and anyone else who doesn't fit that category basically is here on a probationary basis. It's not just Muslims.
Many of his GOP rivals have come out and condemned what he said. Let me read to you what Marco Rubio has said. I disagree with Donald Trump's latest proposal. His habit of making offensive and outlandish statements and will not bring Americans together. The next president better be somebody who can unite our country to face the great challenges of the 21st century. Sadyia, does that go far enough? Are you heartened to hear of the other Republican rivals coming out against it?
I think the key word is unity. We have to understand that in order to combat any form of terrorism or any act of violence, we have to stand united. And that's, again, the American principles. American Muslims stand with all faiths and all, politicians who are supportive of Muslims and their rights and advocating for Muslim Americans. So we have to stand united and remember tolerance in the crisis that we are facing right now.
And standing united, Haroon, does this mean, does there need to be a march on Washington? Does there need to be some sort of visible symbol combating this in your mind?
From the Muslim community?
Yes.
Look, this is a debate that's really happening right now where a lot of people are asking what more can we do. Unfortunately, one of the realities is that we feel like being out in public might make us targets. And there is this frustration that you've got these extremists who are hiding even from their own families who are able to do this kind of damage, and we wonder, what can we really do about this? And the sad fact is that even as we fight this kind of rhetoric, it's a very slow battle, and it's going to take time to produce results. And in the meantime, we feel honestly a little bit like we're torn between people who assume we can't be American and then people who assume we can't be Muslim.
I understand. We really appreciate you being so candid and having this conversation with us this morning. We're hoping that it helps. Haroon, Sadyia, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.